Very good. I will call the meeting to order and we'll salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I need a motion to accept the revised agenda.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the previous minutes from December 15th.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Treasurer's report and warrants.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Administrator's report, Mrs. O'Shaughnessy.
Hi, everybody.
Whoa.
Good evening.
So I'm going to do the same thing that I always do, and that is to just highlight a few things from my report. And if you would like me to go into further detail about any of those items or talk about anything else that's on there, just let me know and I'm happy to do so. From the student highlights section of my report, I'd like to bring your attention to the fact that we were able to return to our college forum. We haven't been able to do that in much the same way as we had in the past. We had 5 recent CCS graduates come back over their in between their semesters, right there before Christmas, or was it right after? Right after Christmas. And they were able to share what they have learned in their first year on their campuses or learning virtually with our high school seniors who are interested in going to college. So it was kind of nice to be able to do that again. Also, under administrative points, I'd like to share with you that BOCES is having their Applied Academics Day again this year. And basically what that is, there are several programs at BOCES that carry actual credit for related coursework. So for instance, if a student is in the nursing program, they can get their 3rd year of credit for science through the nursing program without having to take science at the home school. So every so often they need to recertify these courses, send it back through the approval process, and they solicit help from the high school. So we have a math teacher and a science teacher going to help BOCES recertify their coursework, which is important for us because we have several students who get their 3rd credit in math or science in order, or even CFM, because we have a CFM requirement here at school, so that they can meet their graduation requirements and put less strain on their schedules. Another thing that we're working on is our district AIS plan. Our AIS teachers, our new AIS teachers have met to work on researching the regulations and then based on what is required, updating our plan. So far, they've done all of the research and they're developing an action plan. We got our we got our math department together to work on, how their AIS plan. We got our English department together to work on their AIS plan. So we're going group by group by group until we get the entire plan finished. So that's it hasn't been done since I want to say 2011, and apparently it's supposed to be done every couple of years. So it's nice to have them on staff because they're keeping us honest. And that's all I have out of those sections. Under the social emotional goal, I would like to mention that the Sources of Strength group, they did a thankfulness challenge during lunch one afternoon for middle school and high school students, where they put what they were thankful for and they just covered the back wall of the cafeteria. And that was a nice exercise for kids to do. The whole gratitude exercise. And they are planning a future social emotional event in March. They're going to do a popcorn paint and something. There's another P, but they're going to be doing an evening event for students who are interested in coming in and de-stressing through art. So that's what I've got to share with you tonight. There are other things on my report if you'd like me to talk about them.
Nadine, I have a few questions. The culturally responsive sustaining framework implementation.
Yes.
What is that? Who presents?
Okay. So the culturally responsive sustaining framework is a required framework to be implemented from New York State Education Department. Okay. So that framework was shared with us. I want to say last year was when we first put our eyes on it. And this year is the awareness year. So we're supposed to be raising awareness so folks know what it is. So that's the first step. Okay. Next year will be the building capacity year. All right. And then the third year will be the implementation year. So on the NYSED website are a number of resources for districts to use in building awareness in their communities. So far, we've shared the framework with our staff. We've posted something. I'd have to go back and see what the actual post was for our community. And there was a slideshow to help people, understand the premise behind the framework. And that slide deck is something that the school can use. So I use that slide deck to present at a faculty meeting.
Okay.
So we're trying to really stick with the resources that NYSED is providing to make sure that we are, not straying away from the purpose, the spirit of the framework itself. So we're trying to stick with, what we're finding on the website for this first year, this raising awareness year.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Oops.
No, that once enough.
That was I don't know why Siri does that, but I must be heard me talking.
Then a couple of things based on items that you put under goal 2 and goal 4 and 5.
Okay.
I'd be interested to know how much per day screen time our kids are getting from the kindergartners up through the seniors. How many hours a day are they actually doing screen time work? Because there's all kinds of stuff coming out now about how it's not good for kids to be on screen for X number of hours. And then parents want to do screen time at home with kids. Are we doing too much?
Are we overdoing it? Right.
Yeah. And then the other question, and this isn't something you have to answer now, just I'd be interested to know how many groups, committees we actually have within the school, because it seems like every time we get notes, highlights, it's like this group or this team, or could we get an idea of how many of these groups and
Sure.
teams we have and what teachers are actually involved in them and which ones are actually ones that people are doing just on a volunteer basis versus what is something that we are giving stipends for, just so we have an idea as a board.
Sure. I can get with Mr. Zaire. I can get with Adam Zaire to see if there's a way that we can use our technology tools to measure the screen time that you're requesting. I'm not sure what that would look like. I'm not sure, what
It's
kind
not
of report.
anything. Yeah, it's not anything that, don't spend a lot of time on it. Don't, stress over. I'm just curious if you can give us like a generalization for each grade level.
Yep, sure. Um, I can say that it will definitely vary. It will definitely vary per grade level. It'll vary per student as well, because
Mhm.
there are some students who can't put their computers away. I mean, they have them on during lunch, they have them on during their study halls, they have them. So you're going to see a wide variety. If
Okay.
we can find a report, you're going to see a wide variety between grade levels as well as between students, and of course, students who are required to quarantine at home or isolate at
Mhm.
home, who still don't want to miss classes. We still have the remote option open for them. So
Okay.
there's quite a bit of variety here. But and maybe I'll get with Adam. I'll see what we can find out. But maybe we can
Okay.
even break it down by class. Are they spending more time on their screens in English? Are they spending more time in math? Um, Yeah, I'd be interested in that too. And what are they doing? So for instance, their screens might be open for ease of access, but they might not be using them necessarily as to create. So for instance, if a teacher's using Nearpod or Pear Deck, that's a way to deliver a presentation directly to the student desk, so that if they can't see it up at the front of the room, they can see it on their desk, or at home if they happen to be at home.
Right.
So if they're just using it as a means of delivery versus a means of, you know, input and practice and submission and like that. So there are a lot of variables, but like I said, I'll get with Adam and see what I can find out.
Okay.
Um, and as far as a list of groups, are you talking about extracurricular groups like that teachers lead students, or are you talking about, student groups as well as teacher committees like the PDP committee, which is for teachers, or the shared decision making committee,
Both.
all
And
of it?
yeah, and any kind of outside groups that they're participating, that they're using. I mean, I don't care if somebody's playing softball. I mean, the professional groups that they're participating in as part of their work at Copenhagen.
Okay, so
You
like
know what I mean?
say a
Um,
teacher, like if a
suppose
teacher is participating in a
the
workforce
two
with
teachers
NICET
going
or
to
something.
BOCES.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes, the two teachers who are going to BOCES to work, that kind of a thing.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I will try to gather that up for the next time we get together.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. Any other
I'm
questions?
curious about, yeah, I'm curious about the Army doing our diversity training.
Yeah.
A while ago, I wouldn't have even thought about it, but lately I know the Army's getting some weird things going on with them too. So I would be curious what is their what are they presenting? What is their curriculum to give sixth graders and through 12th
Mhm.
graders?
Yep. So what's going on with that is that's the CAB group. Okay. The Combat Aviation
Yeah,
Brigade. It's
I'm
the
very
same.
familiar with them. Yes.
Okay. I know. Well, I know you would be.
Yep.
And that's the same group that was here a few years ago. I don't know if you remember when they came and they met with our English classes in the high school. Um, and then we just kind of lost touch. So in December, they came back around. It's a new group, of course. It's not the same men as it was, the same soldiers. But they came back around in December and kind of want to get back involved with the schools. So when I mentioned what their predecessors had done, they were all about it. They said, "Oh yeah, we are definitely interested in that." So we met last week. Was it the 14th? We met the morning of the 14th to discuss what that might look like. And he took copious notes, and he's taking it back to his team, and they're going to develop a presentation that is interactive, so that it's not just, the kids aren't just sitting and getting, they say. They'll actually be participating, hopefully with some activities and some, dialogue. But before they present that to our kids, they're going to kind of do a dry run with us.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mrs. O'Shaughnessy? Very good. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Mrs. Rapp, you're up.
All right. Happy Monday, everyone. Almost to the end of it. Just a couple things from my report as well. And like Mrs. O'Shaughnessy said, if you have any questions about anything else, I'm happy to elaborate. I want to talk a little bit. It seems like a big portion of our month in the elementary in January has been universal screening in math and in ELA. Having data chats, talking about what's working, what are some things we need to improve upon. And I want to tell you that we're making progress, and maybe not as great as we would like, but we're overcoming, challenges as all schools are with attendance and that type of thing. But for our ELA, the number of students scoring above and at and above benchmark has improved by 4%, which, as I said, isn't a huge amount, but we are making progress, and there's a few factors that come into play with that. But our math is doing much better, making more progress in math, and we've moved from 44% of our students being at or above benchmark to 57%. So kind of a big jump there. So good news on the academic front, and we're plugging away. We're getting there. Even the students that haven't met benchmark yet are making great progress. We're seeing everybody moving up on their graphs, so that's a good sign. The other thing I wanted to touch on just real quickly is just the different grants, and just kind of update you on the DODEA grants and what's going on with those. Our Nights in Training grant, which is excuse me, the grant that's going to end this year. This is our last year for that. We actually had some fun Christmas related STEM activities just the day before Christmas break, and that was a lot of fun. We did Rudolph races where kids filled up balloons and they let them go, released them along a string to see who would go the furthest, the fastest. We did a Santa Claus parachute drop to see who could hit the target. Some Christmas tree building, just lots of fun things. And that was courtesy of Nights in Training. Our Future Nights grant, which seemed to be kind of not stagnant isn't exactly the right word, but it was a little slow getting it started. Our planning year was messed up with COVID, but we're really in a good place now. As I reported last week, we've done the online courses for some of our students, and I'm super excited to report that the student broadcast studio is ready to go. It is amazing. Mr. Zaire and Mrs. Green are beginning to work on announcements or student newscast. So we have some fifth graders that are working to write the script, produce it, film it, all that. And they just started today. So can't show you any of the results yet, but I'll be happy to once they get under motion. The Healthy Nights grant is our newest grant, and that one is also moving along. Mrs. Mattis and Mrs. Williams began the letters training, and the letters training is basically how do you teach reading, and it's based on the science of reading. They're going to go through the training and become facilitators, so they'll be able to train our teachers. And we also are working with Cornell Cooperative Extension, and they'll be here on Friday actually to provide fun health related STEM activities for our students in grades K through 2. And while they're doing that, then the K through 2 teachers will be participating in professional learning community. So lots of great movement, lots of motion with our grants this month, which seems nice because it seems like for a while they were just kind of in limbo because we couldn't do any activities and for all different kinds of reasons. So those are the things I wanted to talk about. Is there anything else on there that anyone had any questions?
To ask about the benchmarks you say that we came up so far on. Just want to make sure we did improve that much. It wasn't that they actually lowered some benchmarks.
No, they actually increased the benchmarks.
Okay.
And
Great.
that is one of the reasons why we our reading hasn't showed as much improvement is because they raise them according to the curriculum. So where they think we should be in the middle of the year is where they set the benchmark. And for a number of different reasons, we haven't hit mid-year for our curriculum yet. So the kids were actually being screened on things that they hadn't been taught yet. So it's hard to master the Magic E if you haven't been taught Magic E yet.
And the
So they're making improvements despite the fact that they haven't had all the curriculum.
and also on the studio thing is great deal. I know any of them. If you remember Sam, we at the Faith Fellowship there, they put in a studio like 4 years ago. So Sam really is the one that actually got that thing, did it weekly productions for 2 years there. Really enjoyed that. But I was just realizing too, have you invited like Emily Griffin or someone to come like do a kickoff with it or something? Or?
That's a great idea. We didn't. We are kind of just getting our feet wet.
Yeah.
So
Anyway.
maybe after we have a little chance to get in there, and that's a good idea.
Maybe Asa Stakel would come back too. He was
Yeah.
Channel 7 legend.
Right. Have a couple of appearances there to kick it off, get the interest going.
Right. I'll bring that up.
Very good. Any other questions for Mrs. Ratliff? Thank you very much. Mr. Connell, Superintendent's report.
Don't have a lot. Continuing with our goal of getting COVID out of our building. They have changed the rules a little bit. It's only a 5-day isolation for a positive case, and it starts from symptom onset. So we're finding a lot of kids are maybe missing 2 or 3 days. They'll get it on a Monday, they'll test on a Wednesday, and we go back to Monday as their day 0. So they're actually only missing 3 days. And if you add a weekend to that, sometimes they're only missing 1 or 2 days. So that's been good. The 10-day for contacts, we're not contact tracing in school, but we are contact tracing in the household. And that's been confusing for some parents, as it is, if you have it, you only get 5 days or less. If you don't have it, but you live in a house with someone that does, you have 10. And I try to explain to them that, you can actually be infected on the last day of the positive cases isolation, which adds another 5 days to your quarantine. And some people have a hard time grasping that, but for the most part, it's gone pretty well. We have, had more COVID than we've had in the past, but a lot of that is, I think, attributed to we're testing now. We have a lot of tests and we're getting more. So I've been testing a lot of people or sending them home. Some families want them tested here. Some would rather have the tests at home. So we're doing both of that. But again, I think some of our positive cases we probably had in the past, asymptomatic people that now they have tests, and some people really enjoy testing and some people don't want their kids tested at all, even if they're sick. So I understand both sides. I honestly have, in all of this time, never tested. And if I have symptoms, I would test, but there's been some times after I've tested people that are positive that part of me wants to, but I will if I get sick, but right now I'm not going to, so. Just to fill you in, I've been getting not a lot of heat, but from some parents, when other schools close, when it's cold, it was minus 42 wind chill this morning. But I try to explain to them that, we don't have walkers. We pick every kid up. Our buses are in the bus garage and warm, and we feed everybody breakfast for free. So it's a lot better that we have the kids in our building than not, because our building's probably warmer than most of our houses when it gets to be minus 42 wind chill. But I understand on the other side of that, Watertown and some schools that have walkers or kids that stand out at bus stops. We don't have that either. For the most part, we're rural enough so they can see the bus coming down the road from the last stop when they look out their side window, and then they run down the driveway. So we really don't have anybody standing outside for any kind of period of time. So I just feel like it's safer, but some parents get a little bit upset when they ask me what our limit is. Like at what point can some schools actually have a board approved wind chill limit? Like I know Sackett's Harbors is minus 20. It's more than minus 20, then they must delay. I tell them we don't have a limit. Obviously if it gets so cold.
Last I knew, we did have a limit published, but I think it was like minus 40 or something, but I believe it was because we had walkers still at the time.
Yeah, it could be. I'll have to look at that. Luke, let's look at our board policy on that, make sure we aren't violating our board policy, and then we can get that changed, so.
Okay,
There's probably always some Copenhagen kids voluntarily standing out at the end with flip-flops and shorts on.
Yeah, that's true. You're right about that. Last thing I have, we had our 11-month walkthrough with the architects and engineers, and there really was only a few really minor issues. So we're getting close to closure on that. Other than that, I do have a couple of executive session items, but that's it for a report.
Any other questions for Mr. Connell? All right, we'll move right along to new business then. Superintendent recommends the approval of the half days, March 4th and April 1st. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Appointment of Amber Cohen as co-advisor for student council.
So move.
There a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the contract with Lowville.
Second.
Discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Appointment to tenure Michelle Bartlett, Masters of Social Work, effective January 24th.
So move.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Recommendations on Committee on Special Ed and Preschool Special Ed and Title 4.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion items, APR, ESSR, monthly discussion.
I don't have a lot to share. We're still working on it. Still looking into different ways to spend a considerable amount of money. So, and that'll be an ongoing process for quite some time. I think, Scott, do we have 3 for a 3-year process?
we do 2024. So it's going to be an ongoing, continuous process as we go through assessing the needs of the moment, and then of course trying to strategize how we're going to make improvements throughout the building, both inside and outside of the classroom. So there's a lot still that's going into it.
Not much exciting this month about it, though. We really haven't done anything too crazy with it yet.
All right, so then I guess we would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.